The year was 1983, a time when big hair and bright colors filled the world. But for John, a young man with a kind smile and an even kinder heart, his world had just turned upside down. He stood in the hospital, the sterile smell of disinfectant doing little to calm the storm in his chest. Just hours before, his beloved wife, Mary, had given birth to not one, not two, but 9 tiny baby girls. 9 miracles, all squirming and crying, each a tiny piece of the love he shared with Mary. Mary, with her bright eyes and gentle laugh, had been so excited. They had dreamed of having a big family, maybe 2 or 3 children. 9 was beyond their wildest dreams. She had even joked about needing a bigger house, a bigger car, and a lot more patience. But then, something went terribly wrong. The doctors tried their best, their faces grim as they told John the news. Mary was gone. She had given her life to bring their 9 daughters into the world. John felt a deep ache in his soul, a hollow space where Mary used to be. He looked at the 9 small bundles, each wrapped in a pink blanket. 9 daughters, all alone with him. The world outside the hospital seemed to fade away. He was just John, a new father, a grieving husband, standing on the edge of a new, unknown life. He remembered Mary's last words, whispered weakly as she held his hand. "Take care of our girls, John. All of them." Her voice had been faint, but her spirit, so strong and full of love, filled the room. He had promised her, his voice thick with tears, that he would. He would do whatever it took. The nurses, kind and understanding, offered their condolences. They saw the shock and sadness in John's eyes, but also a flicker of something else, determination. He was a man who had just lost everything, but had also gained everything. 9 tiny lives depended on him now. He held the first baby, then the second, then the third, each one so small, so perfect. Their little fingers wrapped around his, and in that moment, a new purpose bloomed in his heart. He wasn't just John anymore, he was daddy to 9 little girls. The weight of his promise to Mary settled on his shoulders, a heavy but sacred burden he was ready to carry. The journey ahead would be long and hard, but he would face it, for Mary, and for their 9 precious daughters. The immediate days after Mary's passing were a blur of visitors, casseroles, and the ceaseless cries of 9 infants. John, still reeling from the loss of his wife, somehow found a steady hand to hold each tiny baby, to learn their unique wails and soft coos. People offered help, good-hearted neighbors and relatives suggesting that perhaps he could keep 1 or 2, and let the others be adopted into loving homes. It was a practical, sensible suggestion, given the overwhelming task before him. But John couldn't even consider it. Each little girl was a piece of Mary, a living memory of their love. How could he choose? How could he let go? He remembered Mary's determined spirit, her fierce love for everything they created together. He knew what she would want. He would keep them all. This wasn't just a choice, it was a vow, a sacred promise whispered to the heavens and to the 9 tiny souls dependent on him. He would dedicate his entire life to them. The early years were a whirlwind of sleepless nights and endless diaper changes. John quickly learned to juggle feeding schedules, doctor appointments, and laundry piles that seemed to reach the ceiling. He became an expert at swaddling, burping, and singing lullabies that soothed not only his daughters but sometimes his own aching heart. He gave up his old job, finding work that allowed him to be home during the day, even if it meant less money. Every penny went towards formula, clothes, and the endless stream of necessities for growing babies. His small house, once quiet and filled with just 2 people, now buzzed with the energy of 9 little girls. He transformed the living room into a nursery, then later into a giant play area. He learned to braid hair, to pick out matching outfits, and to mediate disputes over toys with the wisdom of a seasoned diplomat. He read them bedtime stories, kissed scraped knees, and celebrated every first tooth, first step, and first word with boundless enthusiasm. There were moments of despair, of course. Times when he felt utterly exhausted, alone, and unsure if he was doing enough. But then he would look at their 9 faces, each one different, each one beautiful, and a wave of fierce love would wash over him. He was their father, their protector, their everything. And in their innocent eyes, he saw Mary's light shining back at him. He drew strength from that light, a constant reminder of the woman he loved and the incredible family they had created. He wasn't just raising them, he was building a legacy of love, one day, one challenge, one joyous moment at a time. This was his purpose, his mission, his life's work, and he embraced it with every fiber of his being. John's brave choice to keep all 9 of his daughters meant that every day was a battle, a constant effort to make ends meet. The years stretched on, each one bringing new challenges and new triumphs. He worked tirelessly, often taking on multiple odd jobs after his main work, to ensure there was food on the table, clothes on their backs, and a roof over their heads. Money was always tight. Luxuries were unheard of, necessities were often a stretch. He learned to mend torn clothes, fix leaky pipes, and stretch a single chicken into several meals. His days began before dawn and ended long after his girls were asleep. He'd wake to prepare breakfasts, pack lunches, and help with braids and button-ups. Then he'd rush off to work, often feeling a pang of guilt that he couldn't spend more time with them. He'd worry about them all day, wondering if they were safe, if they were happy, if they were getting enough attention from their teachers. After work, it was a mad dash home for dinner, homework help, and the endless bedtime routines for 9 energetic girls. He'd read stories, listen to their daily adventures, and offer advice on everything from playground squabbles to school projects. There were times when he felt utterly drained, his body aching, his mind foggy with exhaustion. Yet, he never let his daughters see his struggles. To them, he was strong, invincible, their unwavering rock. Birthdays were simple affairs, often celebrated with a homemade cake and small, thoughtfully chosen gifts. Christmas was magical, despite the limited budget. John would spend weeks crafting toys, sewing doll clothes, or finding second-hand treasures that he would lovingly restore. He wanted to make sure they felt the joy and wonder of the season, even if it meant sacrificing his own needs. School trips and new shoes often presented dilemmas. He hated to say no, but sometimes the money just wasn't there. He remembered one year when Sarah, one of his quieter daughters, needed new shoes for school. John worked extra shifts, cleaning offices late into the night, just to buy her the pair she wanted. The radiant smile on her face when she saw them was worth every ounce of his fatigue. He also had to be both mother and father, teaching them not just how to tie their shoelaces but also how to be kind, how to stand up for themselves, and how to love unconditionally. He taught them resilience, not through words, but through his own tireless example. He showed them that even in the face of immense hardship, love could conquer all. The struggles were real and constant, but so was his love, a boundless well from which he drew strength every single day. As the girls grew into young women, each with her own dreams and ambitions, John watched with a mixture of pride and a growing sadness. One by one, they began to leave home, venturing out into the world to carve their own paths. It was a natural part of life, he knew, but it didn't make the quiet house any easier to bear. The eldest, Sarah, was the first to go. She had a sharp mind and a thirst for knowledge, earning a scholarship to a university far away. Then came Emily, with her artistic soul, who moved to a big city to pursue her passion for painting. Next was Clara, the adventurous one, who joined the military and was stationed overseas. Each departure left a little hole in John's heart, a silence where laughter and chatter used to be. The reasons for their departures were varied, as unique as each girl. Some chased careers, others found love, and a few simply sought a different life than the one they had known. There was Lily, who married a charming young man and moved to his hometown across the country. Rose, the spirited one, traveled the world as a flight attendant. Daisy, with her gentle nature, became a nurse in a bustling hospital many states away. He understood their need to explore, to build their own futures. He had instilled in them a sense of independence and ambition. But as the years passed and the distance between them grew, the family began to feel separated. Phone calls became less frequent, visits rarer still. Christmas cards and birthday wishes arrived in the mail, but the warmth of their presence was sorely missed. John would often sit alone in the evenings, surrounded by memories. The house felt too big, too empty. He'd trace the faded marks on the doorframe that measured their growth, or run his hand over the well-worn kitchen table where they had shared countless meals. He cherished the photos that lined his mantelpiece, 9 smiling faces, growing from infants to teenagers, all together, a perfect circle. He tried to visit when he could, making long bus or train journeys to see a daughter here or there. But coordinating schedules for 9 busy women, scattered across the country and even the globe, was nearly impossible. A full family gathering became an elusive dream, a wish whispered to the stars. The once vibrant home, filled with the bustling energy of 9 girls, now held only echoes of their past, a testament to a father's enduring love that stretched across miles and years, waiting for the day when his flock would return. He never stopped loving them, even from afar, but the separation was a constant ache. Decades passed, turning John's youthful vigor into the steady wisdom of old age. The marks on the doorframe that once measured his daughter's height now stood as silent monuments to fleeting childhoods. His hair was grayer, his steps a little slower, but the love in his heart for his girls remained as strong and bright as ever. He still missed them dearly, the quiet of his home a constant reminder of their absence. But this year, something was different. A secret buzz had been circulating among the 9 sisters for months. It started with a phone call from Sarah to Emily, then a flurry of emails and group chats. The idea had been Emily's, sparked by a quiet evening looking through old family photos. "It's been too long," she'd typed, "Dad deserves a proper Christmas, with all of us." The plan was ambitious, a logistical puzzle of flights, train tickets, and coordinating schedules from across different time zones. Clara, with her military precision, took charge of the planning. Lily offered her home as the central gathering point, since it was the most accessible for everyone. Rose, with her flight benefits, helped scout the best travel deals. Daisy, ever the organizer, created a detailed itinerary. Even the quieter sisters, like Sarah and the twins, June and July, contributed their ideas and efforts. Their father had no idea. They had kept it a closely guarded secret, exchanging knowing glances and hushed whispers on their individual calls with him. He had simply been told that a few of them might be able to make it for Christmas, a usual, hopeful but often unfulfilled promise. He expected a quiet holiday, perhaps with 1 or 2 of his daughters, if he was lucky. As Christmas approached, the excitement among the sisters grew to a fever pitch. Each one packed not just clothes, but a lifetime of memories, stories, and the unspoken yearning for a complete family reunion. They imagined John's face, the surprise, the joy. It had been years since all 9 had been under the same roof, decades even. The last time they were all together was at Emily's wedding, over 15 years ago, and even then, some had to leave early. This time, they were determined to make it count. The plan was set for Christmas Eve. One by one, they would arrive, some traveling thousands of miles, all converging on the small, familiar house that held so many of their childhood memories. They pictured John, perhaps by the fireplace, reading a book, unaware of the incredible gift about to unfold. This Christmas wouldn't just be a holiday, it would be a bridge across time and distance, a rekindling of a family bond that had stretched but never broken. The anticipation was almost unbearable, a mixture of nerves and pure, unadulterated joy. Christmas Eve arrived, crisp and cold, painting the world outside John's window with a delicate frost. He sat by the fireplace, a worn book in his hand, the scent of pine and cinnamon filling the cozy living room. He expected a quiet evening, perhaps with Lily and her family, who lived closest. He looked forward to their company, but a familiar pang of loneliness tugged at his heart, thinking of all the others scattered far and wide. A knock at the door startled him. It was Lily, a wide, almost bursting smile on her face. "Dad, we're here," she chirped, her voice unusually bright. Behind her, not just her husband and children, but another figure stepped into the light. Sarah. John's eyes widened. Sarah. What a wonderful surprise, he exclaimed, pulling her into a tight hug. He thought that was the surprise, a rare visit from his eldest. As they settled in, laughter and conversation filling the once quiet room, another knock came. Then another. And another. Each time, a new daughter appeared, a fresh wave of gasps and joyful cries erupting from the family. Emily, Clara, Rose, Daisy, June, and finally July, all of them, one by one, filling the hallway, their faces beaming with delight. John stood speechless, his eyes welling up with tears he hadn't realized he was holding back. He hugged each one, holding them close, trying to commit their scent, their touch, their presence, to memory. The simple holiday meal they had planned quickly transformed into a bustling, joyous feast. Lily's dining table, usually just big enough for her family, now groaned under the weight of extra plates, glasses, and the sheer volume of food. The room, once so spacious, was now wonderfully crowded, filled with the warmth of bodies, the murmur of excited conversations, and the happy squeals of grandchildren. It began as a simple gathering, a few daughters joining their father for Christmas. But as each sister emerged from the cold night into the glowing warmth of the house, the atmosphere became charged with an almost electric emotion. John, who had prepared himself for a subdued holiday, found himself overwhelmed. His heart, accustomed to a quiet rhythm of solitary evenings, now beat with a joyful cacophony. He looked around the table, seeing all 9 of his girls, grown into magnificent women, their faces reflecting his own, and Mary's. It was the first time in decades that they were all under one roof, a living tableau of his life's work, his unwavering love. The meal, the presents, the carols, they were all secondary to the sheer, overwhelming presence of his entire family, together at last. The air was thick with unspoken stories, long-held affection, and the profound weight of shared history. It was more than a reunion, it was a miracle. With plates cleared and coffee steaming, the room settled into a comfortable hum. The initial shock and tears had given way to a palpable warmth, a joy that radiated from every corner. The grandchildren, tired from their own excitement, nestled onto laps or found quiet corners to play, their hushed giggles adding to the soft background noise. It was then that the stories began to flow, like a gentle river, carrying them all back to their shared past. Remember the time Dad tried to teach us all how to ride a bike at once? Emily started, a mischievous glint in her eye. He had 9 bikes, 9 helmets, and exactly 2 hands. It was pure chaos. Laughter erupted, filling the living room. John chuckled, shaking his head. You girls were a handful, all right. I think I spent more time picking you up off the grass than actually teaching you to pedal. And the infamous, great cookie catastrophe of '92. Clara chimed in, pointing a playful finger at Rose. Rose tried to bake cookies for a school fair, but she accidentally used salt instead of sugar. Rose groaned good-naturedly. It wasn't my fault. The labels looked the same. Dad still ate a whole plate, trying to be supportive, bless his heart. My tongue was numb for a week, John interjected, a wide smile spreading across his face. But they were the most lovingly made salty cookies I've ever had. Sarah recounted a memory of John building a magnificent treehouse in their backyard, a project that took him months, working late into the evenings after his day jobs. He said it was our castle, she reminisced, her voice soft. And he was our knight. Daisy recalled the elaborate scavenger hunts John would set up for their birthdays, leading them through the house and yard with rhyming clues, always ending with a small, carefully chosen gift. He made every one of us feel so special, she said, her eyes shining. June and July, the twins, spoke of their secret language, known only to them and their father. He'd pretend to understand, June giggled, and then he'd tell us what we really meant to say. As each story unfolded, the laughter grew louder, more genuine, punctuated by affectionate nudges and shared glances. The weight of years, of distance, of unspoken words, began to lift. They weren't just 9 separate women anymore, they were a family, woven together by these vibrant threads of memory. John sat back in his armchair, a profound sense of contentment washing over him. To hear their happy voices, to see their faces alight with shared joy, was the greatest gift he could ever imagine. Every struggle, every sacrifice, every sleepless night, was worth it for this moment. The room vibrated with love, a beautiful symphony of their collective past, harmonizing perfectly in the present. As the laughter softened, a different kind of memory began to surface. The kind that brought a catch to the throat and a shimmer to the eyes. Emily, always the most sensitive, spoke first, her voice a little softer than before. "It wasn't always easy, was it, Dad? I remember when my favorite doll broke, and we couldn't afford a new one. You worked extra shifts for 2 weeks just to buy me a new one, even though you were so tired." A tear traced a path down her cheek. John reached out and gently squeezed her hand. "You deserved it, sweet pea. All of you did." Clara, usually so stoic, cleared her throat. "I remember feeling so angry sometimes, in high school. Angry that we didn't have a mom like everyone else, angry that you worked so hard, and we still couldn't have all the things our friends had. I was a terrible teenager, Dad. I'm so sorry." Her voice broke on the last words, and Sarah put an arm around her. John looked at Clara, his eyes filled with understanding. "You were never terrible, Clara. You were just a girl trying to make sense of a world that asked too much of you. And it was hard. I know it was." Daisy recalled a time when she was sick, and John had stayed up with her for nights on end, singing lullabies and bringing her warm milk, even though he had to work in the morning. "You were so exhausted, but you never complained," she whispered, her own eyes now damp. "You always put us first." Lily spoke of the worry she felt when John would come home late, smelling of grease or paint, his shoulders slumped from another long day. "We knew you were doing it for us," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "We always knew how much you loved us, even when we couldn't say it back." Even the twins, June and July, remembered moments of scarcity, like sharing a single pair of new shoes between them for school pictures, or making their own Christmas decorations because store-bought ones were too expensive. But their memories weren't bitter, they were tinged with a deep appreciation for their father's efforts. John listened, his heart aching with both the pain of those past struggles and the profound love he felt for these women. He saw the echoes of their childhood difficulties in their adult strengths, the resilience born from necessity. The room grew quiet, save for the soft sniffles and the crackling fire. These weren't just sad memories, they were testaments to their shared journey, to the sacrifices made, and to the unbreakable spirit that had seen them through. It was a moment of raw honesty, a collective acknowledgement of the difficulties they had faced as a family, and how, despite everything, their love had only deepened. The conversation shifted, becoming more reflective, more profound. The daughters, now grown women with children of their own, looked at their father with new eyes. They understood, perhaps for the first time, the true depth of his sacrifice. "Dad," Sarah began, her voice soft but firm, "we know you gave up everything for us. Your dreams, your youth, your chance at a different life." She paused, her gaze sweeping over her sisters. "You never complained. Not once. You just kept going, for us." Clara nodded, her military training giving her words a crisp authority. "You worked those extra jobs, cleaned offices, took on anything to keep us fed and clothed. We saw it, even if we didn't fully grasp it then. You were always tired, but always there. I remember you turning down a promotion, Dad," Emily added, "because it would have meant more travel and less time with us. You put your career on hold, just to be our full-time parent." Her voice was filled with awe. Lily chimed in, "And holidays, like Christmas. You made sure we always had presents, even if they were handmade, even if it meant you got nothing for yourself. You made magic out of very little." Rose, usually the most flamboyant, was quiet, her eyes fixed on John. "You taught us how to be strong, how to be independent. You didn't just provide for us, you nurtured us." You taught us how to fix things, how to be kind, how to face the world. You were both our mother and our father, and you did it all alone. Daisy, ever practical, spoke of the sheer logistics. 9 girls, Dad. 9 sets of clothes, 9 school projects, 9 different personalities. How did you manage to give each of us what we needed, emotionally and physically? John, listening to his daughters, felt a warmth spread through him, different from the fire's heat. It was the warmth of being seen, truly seen, for all he had done. He hadn't sought praise, only to fulfill his promise to Mary and to his girls. June and July, speaking almost in unison, added, "You never made us feel like a burden. Even when we probably were." He smiled, a gentle, loving smile. "You were never a burden, my darlings. You were, and still are, my greatest joy. Every choice I made for you. It wasn't a sacrifice, it was my privilege." But they knew better. They knew the cost. They knew the lonely nights, the missed opportunities, the sheer exhaustion. And in that moment, sitting around the table, they understood the true measure of their father's love, a love so vast and unwavering that it had consumed his entire life, shaping their world, and making them who they were today. The room was filled with a quiet reverence, a profound respect for the man who had given them everything. The room had settled once more, the air still thick with the emotions of shared laughter and tears. John felt a profound sense of peace he hadn't experienced in years, surrounded by his entire family. He truly felt complete. Just as he thought the evening couldn't get any more special, Sarah, the eldest, cleared her throat, a soft smile playing on her lips. "Dad," she began, her voice carrying a hint of nervous excitement, "we have one more gift for you. It's a bit different. It's from all of us," but Emily spearheaded the idea. All eyes turned to Emily, who blushed slightly but then met her father's gaze with determination. "It started when I was looking through old photos, Dad. So many memories. So many of your memories, of our memories. And I realized something." She stood up and walked to the Christmas tree, where a large, flat, wrapped package lay tucked away. It was bigger than any of the other gifts, and John couldn't imagine what it might be. He thought perhaps a new, bigger television, or a piece of furniture, but his daughters knew he preferred simple, meaningful things. Emily carefully brought the package over to John, placing it gently on his lap. "This isn't just a present, Dad. It's a piece of our history, a tribute to everything you've done for us. It's a gift that no one expects, because it's been decades in the making." John looked at the package, then back at his daughters' expectant faces. A ripple of excitement ran through the room. The grandchildren, who had been quietly playing, now watched with wide, curious eyes. The mystery of the large gift had captured everyone's attention. He began to carefully peel back the festive wrapping paper, his fingers a little shaky with anticipation. Underneath, a plain brown paper cover hinted at what was inside. He untied the string, and as the paper fell away, a gasp went through the room, not just from John, but from some of the younger daughters who hadn't been fully in on the secret. It wasn't a material object in the usual sense. It was a large, beautifully bound book. Its cover was a rich, deep blue, with the title embossed in gold, 9 stars, A Father's Love. The surprise was evident on John's face, a mixture of confusion and overwhelming curiosity. This was not just a gift, it was a story, their story, a tangible representation of his life's devotion. He looked up at Emily, then at each of his daughters, a silent question in his eyes. What treasure had they created? John carefully opened the cover of 9 Stars, A Father's Love. The first page was a dedication, handwritten in elegant script, to our dearest Dad, who showed us that love is the strongest force in the universe. Thank you for everything. With all our love, your 9 stars. His vision blurred as he turned the page. Inside, the book was a lovingly crafted scrapbook, a chronicle of his life with his daughters. Each page was a testament to their shared history, filled with photographs, letters, and handwritten anecdotes. Emily explained, "We each contributed, Dad. We went through old photo albums, dug up letters you wrote us, and wrote down our favorite memories. It took us months." The first section was a collection of early photos: Mary, radiant and smiling, holding one of the newborns; John, looking young and overwhelmed, surrounded by 9 tiny bundles. There were blurry snapshots of first steps, crayon drawings taped to the fridge, and school pictures with missing front teeth. Each photo was accompanied by a short caption, often a funny quote or a sweet memory from one of the girls. As John turned the pages, he saw his life unfold before his eyes. There were pictures of him, younger and stronger, covered in paint from a DIY project, or patiently braiding hair. There were notes from school teachers praising his daughter's progress, and cards they had made for Father's Day, their childish handwriting proclaiming their love. Clara had included a photograph of him, taken secretly, asleep on the couch after a particularly long day, surrounded by sleeping toddlers. Her caption read, "Our protector, even when he was exhausted. We always felt safe." Daisy had meticulously organized a section dedicated to his home cooking, complete with hand-drawn recipes for his famous pancakes and a mystery meat casserole that had become a family legend. "You always found a way to feed us," she'd written, even when there wasn't much. Lily had compiled letters he had written to them when they were away at college, full of encouragement, advice, and always, always love. Rose had gathered anecdotes about his patience, recounting how he taught her to drive or helped her through a tough breakup. June and July had filled their section with drawings of their father as a superhero, always ready to save the day, always with a smile. The book wasn't just a collection of memories, it was a living, breathing narrative of his devotion, seen through the eyes of the 9 lives he had shaped. John's hands trembled as he held the book. He looked up, his eyes shining with unshed tears, but his heart full to bursting. This was more than a gift, it was a mirror reflecting the immense love he had poured into their lives, now returned to him tenfold. It showed him, in the most beautiful way possible, that his lifelong love had been seen, remembered, and deeply appreciated. John clutched the book to his chest, the weight of it a comforting, tangible presence. It was a gift beyond measure, a mirror reflecting not just his past, but the profound impact he'd had on 9 lives. But the true depth of the gift, the part that would truly change his life and honor his devotion in an unexpected way, was yet to be fully revealed. Emily, seeing the tears in her father's eyes, stepped forward again. "Dad," she said, her voice soft but clear, "that book is just the beginning. As we put it together, we realized something important. You've given us everything, always putting us first, and never asking for anything in return. But we want to give something back to you now, something that will truly make you happy, and help you enjoy the life you so selflessly built for us." She gestured to Clara, who held up a large, beautifully framed drawing. It was a detailed blueprint, not of a new house, but of John's existing, beloved home. On it, new lines and labels indicated changes: a sunroom added to the back, a larger, more modern kitchen, and an accessible bathroom on the main floor. "This isn't just a drawing, Dad," Clara explained. "It's the plan for a full renovation of this house. We've all pitched in, and we've already hired a contractor. Work starts in the spring." John stared at the blueprint, then at his daughters, his mouth slightly agape. He loved his home, but it was old, and he'd always dreamed of making it more comfortable, more suited to his later years. He'd never dared to spend the money on himself. Then, Daisy, ever the practical one, stepped forward with another envelope. "And Dad," she added, "we know you've always wanted to see the world, to travel to places you only read about in your books. So, we've set up a trust, a travel fund, for you. It's enough for you to go anywhere you want, whenever you want. No more worrying about money. Just adventures." John sank back into his armchair, completely overwhelmed. The scrapbook was a testament to his love, but these additional gifts were a testament to theirs, a profound acknowledgement of his years of sacrifice. They weren't just giving him money or a renovated house, they were giving him back a piece of himself, the dreams he'd quietly put aside, the comfort he'd always prioritized for them. This wasn't just about making him happy in the moment, it was about ensuring his happiness for years to come. It was a way for them to honor his lifelong devotion, not just with words, but with actions that would genuinely change his life for the better, allowing him to finally enjoy the fruits of his selfless labor. The room was filled with a quiet, powerful understanding of reciprocity, a father's love returned in full measure. John sat, truly speechless, a tear finally escaping his eye and tracing a warm path down his cheek. He looked from the blueprint to the travel fund envelope, and then to the faces of his 9 daughters, all watching him with love and anticipation. He didn't have words. The depth of their gratitude, the thoughtfulness of their gifts, hit him with an emotional force far greater than any of the struggles he had faced. "My girls," he managed to whisper, his voice thick with emotion. "My beautiful, wonderful girls." The room was silent for a moment, a shared breath held by everyone. Then, one by one, his daughters rose from their seats and gathered around him, pulling him into a group hug that was tight and warm and filled with decades of unspoken love. It was a hug that melted away years of distance, of quiet evenings, of the ache of separation. In that embrace, John felt a bond stronger than anything he had known before. The humorous memories, the poignant recollections of hardship, the shared understanding of his sacrifices, and now these incredible gifts, they had all woven together to create an unbreakable tapestry. The family, once scattered and feeling separated, was now whole, more connected than they had ever been. This Christmas reunion wasn't just a holiday gathering, it was a rebirth. It showed John that his life's devotion had not been in vain, that his love had not only raised 9 incredible women but had also cultivated a deep, enduring love that was now returning to him. He realized that even through the years of struggle and the pain of separation, the foundation of their family had remained solid, waiting for this moment to shine brighter than ever. The joy in the room was palpable, a tangible force that promised new beginnings. They talked late into the night, making plans for future visits, for how John would enjoy his renovated home, and where his first big trip would be. There was a renewed sense of connection, a shared understanding that distance would no longer define them. This Christmas had healed old wounds, brought buried emotions to the surface, and solidified a bond that was truly stronger than ever. John, surrounded by his 9 stars, knew that he was the richest man in the world. He finally felt complete, not just for the holiday, but for all the Christmases to come.